Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? It's SDL0320 representing JVS. So, we are within movie number 3 of the Infinity War Challenge. I've been going through and watching these films and dissecting them, reviewing them, going back up on Stardust, doing 30-second reaction to them. But this one is Iron Man 2. So, after Incredible Hulk, the ending of Incredible Hulk, if you don't know, it had Tony Stark talking to the Thunderbolt about the Avengers Initiative. In this one, you get to see Iron Man, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. in his arrogance just in the very beginning with the AC/DC track going in and just flaunting everything that he is. At the same time, like, you start to realize, like, he's giving stuff away, like, he's being very much so passive with some of the things that are going on with his company. He allows Pepper Potts to be this new CEO. And it's like you start to realize something is wrong. And one of the interesting things that I think played well in this one was the fact that he was dying from the very thing that was keeping him alive. So in the first movie, we knew that he needed the actual reaction to keep the shards from grazing his heart or killing him ultimately. But now he was actually dying from something even more so. So it was like he was a man against time that was kind of slowly descending back into what he used to be. So I thought that that part of it was actually really good, and I think that Robert Downey Jr. is such a good actor in general that he plays up on that very well. The other thing about this movie is that they played with Mickey Rourke in this one. Mickey Rourke plays the role of Whiplash. You find out that not only was the arc reactor not just made by Howard Stark, but it was created simultaneously with somebody else that was his dad. Mickey Rourke in the very beginning of this movie, and matter of fact, in the trailers, one of the things that got me hyped about this movie is the prospect of somebody coming up against Iron Man. Like, he didn't have a suit on, he just had these mechanics and these whips, and I was like, yo, this dude looks legit. And that scene, there's a couple different scenes, but that scene at the race car track, like, the CG still holds up. It still looks great. It still looks realistic, and I thought that was one of the best openings of a villain. I just think that they underused Mickey Rourke in a lot of different ways. So it was like, by the time you get to Justin Hammer was in this one, played by Sam Rockwell. Shout out to him, he won an Academy Award recently. You got Don Cheadle now replacing my man Terrence Howard as Rhodey. And Don Cheadle did a great job. I thought he played the military role to a T. He shows up in the courthouse trying to defend Tony technically. And then eventually Tony goes off the rails. And I think that one of the things that does work really well is the chemistry between Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr. I'm not sure if it's because they're just both great actors that it works, or if it's just because they play their roles so well. But they really come off as like brothers in and of themselves. But it was like some of the things that Tony was doing in the beginning, I was like, yo, what are you doing? And so Don Cheadle had to put him in check, had to take his own suit back, and then you get the birth of War Machine. And I thought that the look and the aesthetic of War Machine was great. I thought that they did such a great job with the utilization, especially in that final fight. That fight at the end where Iron Man and War Machine are going back to back, taking on these different sentries. I thought that that was one of the better fights, even more so than the final fight Whiplash. The negatives in this one fall there. Like, I think that that fight with Whiplash, it kind of seemed really stupid and really rushed, and it was kind of like, yeah, he had like an ulterior motive of where he was going to play out and causing the bomb and the destruction. But it was just kind of like, this dude's a lot more smarter than just that. Like, I mean, I thought that they could have done way more with him instead of just killing him, just like they do with the Ironmonger, and just like they did, of course, with the last movie. But the last movie, actually, they did keep the villain alive as far as Incredible Hulk. But this one, they definitely did kill Whiplash. And I thought that Mickey Rourke was really just underused. They used him kind of from a comedic standpoint with him and Sam Rockwell, where it's kind of just like, okay, yeah, you're going to work for this guy to brace you out. But instead, I figured he would have killed him, kept everything he was doing, and used some other different means. But it was kind of like, it just came off really cheesy and cut and dry. Even the part where Tony kind of like gets drunk and like trashes the entire house and causes kind of collateral damage, I thought that was all unnecessary. I think that they could have played on the fact that, yes, this man is dying. He has nothing to lose at this point, but technically everything to lose because he's not alone by himself anymore. He has Pepper. And that would have played perfectly into what they did as far as the Iron Man 1. And I thought that, you know, they just kind of played on the cheese way too much. And yes, I'm glad that Samuel Jackson showed up in this one as far as Nick Fury. You get Scarlett Johansson's debut as
Black Widow.
Black Widow. And I thought that they both did really good, and they added a certain seriousness to the tone of this. But at the same time, Scarlett Johansson, like, they didn't utilize her much because they wanted to play her up more so in Avengers. And her hairstyle definitely changed, but that's for a whole nother thing. I just think that there was a lot of cheesy moments in this movie that kind of were unmerited. And I think that the amount of counter deaths that were more so probable never got addressed. Like when the expo place was getting destroyed and everything was happening, they never said like everything's been evacuated or people were gone. Like I was like, man, this is some messed up stuff that's really happening. I think they never really readdressed any of those ramifications. Partly because, of course, this is a PG-13 movie. This is a superhero movie, but a lot of times nowadays, like people are like, oh man, I can't believe these people died. And so it was never like really seriously toned or addressed. And I thought they could have really easily done that. But for all in all, I thought this was actually a really fun movie. I'm really glad that they added Agent Coulson at the very end to tip off Thor that's going to be coming up. And I think that my man John Slattery, that plays the role of Howard Stark, did a really good job coming back with the flashback scenes. I thought that those were really powerful. I think Robert Downey Jr. played those off very well, especially when he get the understanding of who his dad really was. And of course, if you know in Captain America movie that he definitely plays a way bigger role, and you know who he actually ends up being. So all in all, it's an interestingly fun ride, but I thought that they kind of dropped the ball in a lot of different stages. And I think that they had so much acting talent there that I don't blame Jon Favreau. I blame the fact that there's so many different people there and money there that they try to make it something kind of a rehash of the first one when it could have been something totally different. That's the same kind of thing I feel about the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, to be quite honest with you. But hopefully y'all enjoyed this review. Keep it locked. JVS ain't gonna stop. Be right back for the Thor review in just a second. Peace, guys.